Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Zara and today I'm going to be doing a quick review of The Outsider by Albert Camus. This is an author that I've been wanting to read for so long and I just haven't picked him up until recently because honestly, it was the same reason why I hadn't picked up Dostoevsky, because I had a feeling I was going to love his stuff, but I wasn't sure. And that's why I just delayed and delayed and delayed. And I'm honestly quite upset that I waited this long to read Camus because this book was really quite something. Before I jump into my review, I'll just give you a very brief overview of what this book is about. We're essentially following our main character as he essentially lives his life after finding out that his mother has passed. It's a short book, it's a quick read, it's about 100 pages, and it's deeply, deeply philosophical and follows our main character as he kind of gets into trouble, he meets new people, and he's also trying to come to terms with his mother's death. Let's kick off with the writing style. I think Camus' writing is really quite exceptional. Like, I really loved it. I didn't expect it to love it this much, but I really like it. It's quite sparse, it's detached, it's quite clinical, which is actually a writing style that I actually really, really enjoy. You know, it's very clear that this is a deliberate choice by the author, and I think it perfectly reflects our main character's worldview. The writing style is stripped of any metaphor, it's stripped of any emotion and ornamentation, which might feel cold at first to the reader. It definitely didn't for me. I don't know what it is about that style of writing that I personally really enjoy, but I think to a lot of people that could feel quite jarring. But I think it is also why this novel is so effective at getting its points across. I think it's just the most perfect way to write from the perspective of a character like Meursault. I don't know how you pronounce his name, so I'm going to say Meursault, which I think is completely wrong. But that's okay, I'm not French and I have tried, so I'm really sorry. Any French people, maybe Cyril, feel free to comment down below how to pronounce Meursault. The coldness to the writing is actually one of its best tools, and the language is so simple, like brutally so, and I think it captures the mundane details of life with a kind of dispassionate precision that I actually really enjoy reading. I do think this tone won't be for a lot of people, but I think if you kind of accept it for what it is, it becomes a powerful lens for us to kind of register the philosophical undercurrents present in this book. I also think it's very much a reflection of our main character because this book is told in first person, but I will come onto that a little bit later on. Let's talk about pacing a little bit before we go on to characters. One of the best things about this book is its length, and I mean that in the sense that this could easily have been like a 300-page book and I think it could have worked. But I think the fact that it is short and like very briskly paced means that events moves quickly, and also that requires the author to kind of keep the plot very straightforward. As I mentioned at the start, this is really about our main character living his life, committing acts of violence, an inexplicable act of violence, and then he stands trial, not so much for the act of violence that he commits, but for how he responds to it, which is an interesting aspect of this book in itself, but we'll come back onto that later on. I think the kind of clinical nature of it and the fast-paced nature of it really add to that level of like something is not quite right and our character is not quite right. Like there's something off about him. We don't quite know what it is at the start, but we know something is about to come, and we know it's potentially as a result of the traumatic experience of your mother passing. I just love the way things happen in this book because every chapter is kind of like a gut punch, and by the end of it you kind of feel a bit sick. Let's move on to characters now. Our main character Meursault is intentionally very opaque. He isn't warm, he isn't likable. I'm pretty sure that he is just a psychopath, to be honest. But there is something very compelling and interesting about his honesty and his indifference to the world and the people around him. One thing that I really love about this character is his inability to fake emotion, and I weirdly kind of respect it, particularly in circumstances when it is expected of him. So as an example, this is a very, very brief spoiler. I wouldn't say it's really a spoiler because it's known that his mother dies at the start of the book. It's literally the first line of the book. But when his mother passes, he goes to the funeral, he can't cry, he can't show emotion. And that comes up later. People use that against him later on in the book. And it alienates him from the characters in this book and naturally sometimes the reader, which I think is quite compelling to read. The secondary characters are like little vignettes to different aspects of our main character's character in a way. They're very lightly sketched, but they mostly exist to reflect not only Mersault's kind of state of mind and providing an antithesis to that state of mind, but they're also there to reflect society's expectations as well, and the kind of idea that you have to conform to certain behaviours in order to be accepted in society, which I think is another really interesting concept of itself. What's really great is that Camus forces us to question Mersault rather than neatly try to explain him or even judge him. I felt empathy towards this character, I still do, and I think it's because of how clinical this character is in a way, as weird as that may sound. Like it's just really interesting. I think he's the sort of character that he'll evoke an emotion in everyone, no matter who you are, where you're from, what your own personal beliefs are, because he's just so starkly different from what you typically see in a lot of, I guess you could classify this as literary fiction. Let's move on to themes now. And I think this is where the novel really shines. I think the writing and the themes are really what make this book really shine. Camus has a lot of philosophy around the absurd, which is the idea that life is without inherent meaning, and our attempts to impose meaning, whether that's through religion, morality, or social convention, are both understandable, but they're also futile. And I've been reading a little bit about him as an individual. He was also born, I believe, in Algeria, which was colonized by France. So there is some really interesting stuff around like colonization as well, which I'll come on to in a second. But ultimately, I think it's a critique of how societies try to shape individuals into what they consider acceptable. And as I mentioned, Mersault doesn't cry at his own mother's funeral. And as a result of that, he's treated as though he is monstrous, and not because of the fact that he killed someone, but because of what he didn't feel, which I think is quite interesting. I think this book is just like a really quiet book, like not a ton happens. I mean, he does kill someone, but even that is quite quiet in a way. It's the sort of book that kind of forces you to challenge what kind of is to be considered as normal behaviour, let's say in like Western society. And I think that in itself makes this book such a thought-provoking read and very enjoyable to read as well. I will briefly just touch on the idea of like colonialism as well. Not a very obvious theme in this book. Like I don't necessarily know if Camus was trying to make this point, but this is in French colonized Algeria, and the man that Mersault kills is an Arab man, an Algerian Arab man. And nobody really cares. Nobody really cares that the indigenous Arab man was murdered by somebody. Like literally no one cares. It's really more about the fact that Mersault doesn't react in the way that he should have reacted, rather than the actual fact that he killed an innocent person, which is quite interesting. And I think that says something about Camus as well, because Camus was born and raised in Algeria. He was critiqued quite a lot about his views on colonization, particularly France's colonization of Algeria. And I think that shows in this book. Those are my kind of initial thoughts. I would love to do a video on like Camus' philosophy in this book. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to read a few of his other books first. I want to read The Myth of Sisyphus next. And then I also want to read The Plague. And then what I think I will do, once I've done individual reviews of those, I'll just do one video talking about the philosophy in each of the books and do like a comparison, discussion, whatever. Let me know down below if that's interesting to you, and I'll definitely try to prioritize reading those other two books so I can get to that sooner rather than later. But I think overall, this is the sort of book that feels really simple on the surface, but it's actually very complex and very layered and makes you think about quite a lot of different stuff. I wouldn't say it's emotionally engaging in like the typical conventional sense, but I think it's very intellectually sharp and quite haunting as well, but like quietly haunting. I think the emotional detachment and the flat tone may be off-putting to some people, but I think it serves a purpose. It's not there just to kind of make you feel like you're going a bit mad. Like it really does require you as the reader to be okay with the discomfort and the ambiguity. And I think for that reason and for other reasons, this book is really frustrating, but also rewarding to read overall. I gave this book 4 stars. I don't know if I stand by it. I think writing wise, I gave it like a 4. And I think enjoyment wise, I give it like a 4, so that would put it at like a 4 overall. I feel like I need to rate it a little bit higher, but this is the sort of book that I'm definitely going to reread, and I will definitely kind of reconsider my rating once I've done that, because overall I think it was a fantastic book. So there we have it. Let me know down below if you have read The Outsider. It's also called The Stranger. It's interchangeable. If you've read The Outsider or The Stranger by Camus, let me know if you've read any of his other works as well and what you liked or disliked about them. And let me know if you have any favourites as well, or if there's any that I should stay away from. He's also written a ton of plays that I really want to read too, so I will get to those at some point. But yeah, anyway, let me know down below in the comments and I will see you then. Thanks for watching, folks. Stay safe as always, take care, and I will see you very soon. Bye.